Mogadishu. Commanders say they're also now in control of Beled Hawa on the Kenyan border. Dozens of fighters are reported to have been killed in hours of gun battles. But the African Union is also paying a heavy price. It's thought more than 50 peacekeepers have been killed in the past 2 weeks. The peacekeeping force in Côte d'Ivoire is said to be reinforced by 2,000 soldiers and 2 combat helicopters. They're being drafted in as a political standoff between rival presidential claimants Laurent Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara shows no sign of being resolved. Some of the fiercest fighting happened in a suburb of Abidjan on Thursday, when at least 6 female demonstrators were killed. African leaders are trying hard to bring the rival leaders together. Mohamed Edo sent us this update from Abidjan.
The chairman of the African Union Commission, John Ping, is in the country to try and advance his organization's mediation efforts to try and break the political stalemate in Ivory Coast. He has already met incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo, and he's also set to meet Alassane Ouattara, who's been recognized by the United Nations as the man who won the elections that were held in this country in November. Though they have been going on for the past 3 months, the African Union mediation efforts in Ivory Coast have had no results. The African countries have also not been speaking with one voice, with South Africa, one of the countries that is considered the leadership of the African Union, saying that the elections that were held in Ivory Coast were inconclusive. And all this now is making people here in Ivory Coast, to a certain extent, lose hope that the mediation efforts would result in a breakthrough and a resolution to their country's political stalemate. And this is one of the reasons, analysts say, why people on both sides of the political divide here in the Ivory Coast have begun arming themselves.
Now, the Israeli army has confirmed an overnight airstrike in the Gaza Strip. Israeli military jets bombed 2 sites in central Gaza. The army claims the area housed tunnels being used to commit terrorism inside Israel. There's been no immediate word on casualties. The Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao has pledged to clamp down on inflation and raise income levels. He told the National People's Congress in Beijing the measures are necessary to maintain social stability. The theme of happiness, alongside a 5-year economic plan, dominated his address at the start of this year's parliamentary session. Russia's Orthodox Church has stirred controversy by calling for a national dress code. A senior cleric in the church claimed Russian women who wear revealing clothes encourage sexual assault. Neve Barker reports from Moscow.
Socialite Lena Nelidova takes us on a tour of her wardrobe. It may be minus 20 outside, but like many Russian women, it hasn't dulled her love for skimpy clothes.
I don't like clothes that reveal everything, but I do like clothes that cover just a little bit.
But it's precisely shows of flesh like this, championed by Russian high society and the fashion industry, that the Russian Orthodox Church have real problems with. They want Russians to think long and hard about the social impact of their dress decisions.
The Orthodox Church is steeped in tradition. It advocates long skirts and headscarves for women and conservative clothes for men. But many secular and religious Russians responded angrily when senior cleric Vsevolod Chaplin claimed wearing a miniskirt could incite rape.
If a woman provokes people to think that she's a prostitute or something like that, she does bear her part of responsibility. I'm not justifying rape or improper behavior of men, but it's a part of the tradition of every religion that a woman should be humble.
Fashion industry experts hold a very different view.
This is what we're supposed to look like in summer.
Where choosing what to wear is less of a test of modesty and more an exercise in good taste.
Obviously, if you look a little bit ridiculous and you have humongously fat legs and you wear a miniskirt, it does look ridiculous, but it's the right of every person to choose. I mean, we have men nowadays wearing high heels and leggings.
Not so long ago, the communists denounced denim as an emblem of Western decadence. Today, 80% of Russians say they're Orthodox, but few are likely to surrender relatively newfound freedoms or fashions. Neve Barker, AlJazeera, Moscow.
Still ahead, Zoe has the sport and strong words at cricket's World Cup. Find out what was upsetting Australia's bowler in the game against Sri Lanka.
Afghanistan is faced with a huge challenge.
Relations have gone really sour between us and our allies.
We have inflicted considerable damage on the enemy.
The people who make international headlines.
Ultimately, the truth will out.
They want to stop this publication of information that embarrasses them.
Make time for Sir David Frost. Frost over the world. At this time on Al Jazeera.
The Golan Heights, one of the spoils of the 1967 war, home to 20,000 Israelis and source of 1/3 of all Israel's water. But what of the Syrians left behind? With families torn apart and all borders closed, they come to talk to their loved ones across the Shouting Valley. Across the Shouting Valley on Al Jazeera.
The relocation of the Ahmadiyya has magnified the issue of religious intolerance in Indonesia. Is this inevitable in a multicultural society? And is the government turning a blind eye?
101 East at this time on Al Jazeera.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download Al Jazeera's news widget from Nokia's Ovis store. The news widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Now let's get a roundup of the day's sport from Zoe.
Thanks very much. Barcelona have extended their lead at the top of the Spanish Primera División. The champions are 10 points clear of Real Madrid after a 1-0 win over Real Zaragoza. With many key players rested ahead of Tuesday's Champions League match against Arsenal, Sergio Keita made the most of a rare place in the starting lineup. The Mali international putting away Messi's deflected cross just before half-time to give Barca the win. Real can cut the gap once more if they beat Santander on Sunday. Valencia's 2-1 win at Mallorca puts the pressure on Villarreal, but it was Mallorca who took the lead, foul in the penalty area there, and Ivan Ramis made no mistake from the spot. Just minutes later, though, Valencia were back on track. Pablo Hernandez driving the ball past the defence for the equaliser. And early in the second half, Hernandez added a second to seal the points. In Italy, leaders AC Milan have cemented their place at the top of Serie A with a 1-0 win over Juventus. It took well into the second half before Gennaro Gattuso broke the deadlock. His shot finally getting the fans talking about his football rather than his temper. That goal sealed the win to put Milan 8 points clear of Inter. Juventus, though, they've now lost 5 of their last 7 Serie A matches and lie 7th, 7 points behind Lazio, who occupy the final Champions League spot. In the English Premier League, Arsenal missed the chance to close the gap on leaders Manchester United. They were held to a 0-0 draw by Sunderland, which means their title hopes still lie in their rivals' hands. The result leaves Arsenal 3 points behind United, who travel to Liverpool on